Oh my gosh, it's so stupid. This is like the stupidest stupid.
Are you sure this way's safe?
You don't trust me?
I trust you. I don't trust Seattle.
Me neither. But let's just talk like everything's fine, because if I get too anxious, I'm gonna barf again.
All right.
What?
Hey, this is the Sword and the Pen Reflections. It is my casual alternative to that channel. We're going to be looking today at The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 5. My initial thoughts were no thoughts because I could not muster up the enthusiasm to watch this before sitting down to film this review. I'm sorry. I even tried a 5-hour energy to kind of like hype myself up for it, but I just couldn't. It wasn't enough. So anyway, we're going to do this on the fly and hopefully that's good enough. So, before we get started, remember that you can watch this at 1.5 to 2 times speed. I'm much easier to listen to at that rate because I speak more slowly than most YouTubers do. Other than that, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting. It's a free way for you to support this video and, boost it in the algorithm. Otherwise, if you're feeling super generous, check out my Patreon, Ko-fi, or hit the money heart thanks button down below. You can become a subscriber, you can leave a one-time tip, and anything is much appreciated and goes right towards paying off my dog's eye surgery, which was super expensive. Anyway, that's it. Let's just do this. Okay, wait. So before the show started playing on the HBO app, they just played a Superman trailer, and I'm like so stoked about that. That's probably the best I'm gonna feel today recording these reviews, but I just had to say that. Like, it looks good. I mean, it had some cheesy lines in it, but what Superman doesn't have cheesy lines in it? That's kind of like a staple of Superman movies. But anyway, I love Superman, so sorry, back to The Last of Us. All right, in the first scene, we've got one of the WLF ladies, the one who teamed up with Isaac and, obviously met up with him so that he could betray his own Fedra guys and join the WLFs. She's come to a hospital to meet with another woman who was in charge of other soldiers there. As she walks in, she sees that a doorway has been welded shut. And she's talking to this lady going, I want to know why the hell you apparently killed a bunch of your own guys. Then she explains, the other lady who was there, explains that, well, I came here to clear out the hospital as you ordered. We got the first floor up through the 6th floor, which is, I guess, the whole building. That's all clear. So then it was just the basement. Problem with the basement is that there's only one way down there because the elevators have all gotten stuck down at the bottom and every other stairwell has collapsed except this one. So they could only go in through this one access point. She's like, so we sent in some guys, they went to the first level of the basement, things looked clear, like literally nothing in there, not even rats, she says. She says, so I sent my son in to lead the troops going through the next level because we figured, all right, it's probably going to be clear. She said about 5 minutes in, they got a call from him saying, holy crap, there are cordyceps everywhere in this next level of the basement. They're climbing up the walls and everything. And then a few minutes later, he radioed in again and said, and he was unable to breathe and was saying, it's in the air, seal us in. So she sealed them in. She explains that she was able to assume that it wasn't coming out through the vents because if it was, they would have all been infected weeks ago. And here we are. I have a few minor complaints about this and then one really major complaint. So the first minor complaint is that this lady who is in charge comes in and asks them, why did you kill a bunch of your guys? And she's like very accusatory, like, I heard you did that, like, how dare you? And it's like, she was here to kill infected. So most likely, if she killed a bunch of her own guys, it was because they got infected. That's like the logical first assumption. So you wouldn't exactly show up and be accusatory, more like I show up and I go, what happened? I need to know the details about what, but it's not like a why did you kill them? I'm pissed off at you sort of thing. So that was I was annoyed at that. The next problem I have is with the lady who was in charge of clearing the hospital. She says that we knew the cordyceps had not, the spores, that's what it is, has not gone in through the vents because if they had, we would have all been infected weeks ago. And I'm going, wait, it's only a 6th-floor hospital. Did you take weeks to clear the hospital? Is that what they're implying here? The infected act very much like animals. Even the clever ones aren't so clever and they don't have weapons. You guys are fully outfitted like the military, so how come it would have taken you weeks to clear the hospital? It just doesn't make much sense to me. There really is an implication here that it has taken them weeks to clear this hospital. But anyway, then the little lady who's the more superior lady says that we can't afford to lose the hospital. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, you haven't had the hospital. This is you just now acquiring the hospital. So you wouldn't actually be, well, I guess you'd kind of be losing it if you just took it over, but it's not like you took over something and now you're dependent on it. This is something you've done without and now you have it. So it's just very rough writing, not the best. These are all things that can be fixed with easy little tweaks to the dialogue. But then that brings me to my big problem with this scene. And that is that it was all freaking dialogue. And it was extremely boring. I had to watch this scene like 3 times and it was already really slow. I wish that this was played out. All the other episodes have had flashbacks in the beginning. Well, not all of them, but most of them have had flashback starts so that we could see things as they happen. Like with Isaac turning on his own guys. That was interesting to watch. So why didn't we have that with this? This would have been super exciting and thrilling. Anyway, that's my one big issue with this intro, and other than that, I got nothing else to say about it except that it was boring. Stuff I liked about this was that at least it was decently acted. These 2 ladies did a good job. I'm happy with their performances. I just wish that we got to see them doing cool stuff. Like, it would have been great to actually watch this mother sending her child confidently down to do this job that she figured was going to be easy anyway, only to hear him say, you need to seal us in, I'm going to die, and then for her to have to go through that. Like, that would have been a great dramatic moment for this actress to play out. Somebody is cutting onions in the house and it's killing me now. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so we've got Dina, who is listening to the radio and everything that the enemy is saying and marking on a map. In the meantime, the lights suddenly come on, and Ellie comes bounding in. Ta-da, I've turned on the lights. There was this big-ass generator downstairs and natural gas, baby. I don't know of any large building like this that just keeps an enormous tank of natural gas ready to go just in case all the lights go out or whatever. Typically, these things are fed from a main gas line. I know this because I live in a gas-powered house. This house is fed by natural gas. That's how we get our heat here. And I would just assume that at this point, Fedra or the WLF would have taken possession of this natural gas reserve and shut it off to any other source. Like, if wherever they're getting it from, they make sure it's not going to be fed to other buildings that they're not using, like this theater, for instance. So it's a little inconsistent there. I could give it a pass if the rest of this was great, but it's not. But anyway, let's keep going.
You figured out yet?
Getting there.
You'll find a safe way to get us to the hospital, though, right?
This is so weird. This is like bizarre. Like, does Ellie even really want to go and do revenge, or does she just want to go on a girl trip with her new girlfriend? Because she does not seem to be motivated at all to go and do this. She's relying on Dina 100%. And I don't care if people are like, well, Dina's the one who knows how to do it and Ellie doesn't. Hasn't Ellie trekked across the country with Joel? I guarantee you, Joel was using a map and compass or something. He was not just waltzing towards the west and magically happened upon Salt Lake City. Like, he knew where he needed to go. He was able to, like, we're gonna go this way and this way. You would think that this sort of stuff would come up. But anyway, all right, I can give that a little bit of a pass. And then Dina's like, you know, I'm triangulating. Do you know how to do that? And Ellie's like, hey, I know how to do that. I went to school. And then she basically sits down and proves she knows absolutely nothing about it. But either way, I would think that at least Dina would have thought to have brought a compass, because they did not take roads and paths in order to get all the way to Seattle. They actually cut across countryside. So they must have had a compass. And she's like, do you have a protractor with you? Because I can be more accurate with the angles. Well, you can do this with a compass. I was a Girl Scout. I actually know how to triangulate. And you typically use it to figure out where you yourself are or where a place is that you're trying to get is, because half the time the reason you're lost is you literally don't know where you have wandered to. So you're like, okay, where am I? And you use triangulation to figure out your exact location. And you do this with a compass, drawing a line on a map, and then cross-sectioning it with another point. Anyway, it's not that complicated. But so Ellie's stupid because she has, in all her travels across the countryside, never bothered to ask how the hell triangulation works. Even most definitely, Joel has done it. And then Dina, for some reason, didn't bring a compass with her, so whatever.
If I had a protractor, it would be a lot more accurate.
Oh, I actually brought a protractor.
You did?
No. I don't know what that is, and I hated math. I'm gonna leave you alone now and go and explore the rest of this place because you're smart as f***, and you're figuring it out. Ellie. Yes?
What is happening?
She does not want to be here. She does not want to be going on this revenge quest. She literally does not care about doing this. Why should the audience care? This is terrible. This is not good writing at all. It's pretty much an I don't think it's a rule, but it should be very well understood by beginner level writers that if your main character does not care about what they're doing and is just waltzing through the steps like as if they magically fall into the way of where they're putting their feet in front of them, the audience won't care. The reader won't care. If your characters don't care, your audience won't care and your readers won't care. That's just like everybody knows this. If Ellie doesn't care, I don't care. I don't see how anybody could care about this. If Ellie and Dina decided to quit and let's go see New York, I'd have just as much interest in their journey as I have in it right now. So what is the point of this being a revenge quest? So Ellie goes off into the stage and amazingly, there's a bunch of guitars there that have not been affected by the changes in humidity and there's paint literally peeling off of the walls because it's been 20 years and there's been no maintenance or anything on this building, but the guitars are just fine. She picks one up, sits down, and starts tuning it. Only two, I can accept that, okay, maybe they only showed her tuning 2 strings, but she just barely tweaked them. This guitar would be so out of tune at this point. It would take a while to put all the strings back into, whatever. Anyway, so she starts playing a song. She's singing the very first verse, but then kind of stops, and we see that she's becoming pensive and sort of stops playing. And then Dina walks in. This is the first moment that we have seen of Ellie actually seeming to think about Joel. This should have been in the previous episode. This should have been right when they left from Jackson. Why haven't we had moments like this all through this season? This does not, it's too little too late at this point. No, I'm sorry, no. The reason that this doesn't work is simply because we have not seen that it has been anywhere in her mind until this moment. And it has been a long time since we've actually seen anything like this. So we had her upset in the hospital when she sat up from her bed, and then we had her back in Joel's house crying into his shirt. And then that's it. We've not had a sad Ellie, I miss Joel moment since then. Even when she went to his grave, it wasn't like a, oh my gosh, I'm falling apart moment. This is literally your moment to say goodbye. His body is there, probably only a couple of feet under the soil, and you can't even cry here. I mean, if we were gonna say oh, well, she's blocking it or whatever, it's hidden or something. She wasn't back at the house, she cried into his shirt, so that doesn't quite make sense. But it should have been a far more emotional moment, and we should have seen this every time that she was picking up an instrument, which in the previous episode we saw she did, and it didn't happen. It was just this, hooray, we're gonna play music, and aren't I sexy playing the guitar? And Dina's like, wow, you're so cool. Oh my gosh. Look, when you have a story with a character that goes through one of the most traumatic things that they've had happen in their lives, she just lost her father figure so much, and it was so traumatic that she's sworn revenge for him, and we see no evidence of her being affected by that except the fact that she's going on this revenge journey. It becomes unbelievable when she finally does show any signs of mourning or whatever, because it's well, what happened to it for all this time? What? You have to show that characters are consistent, and if they're not consistent, you need to give us a very damn good reason for why it isn't happening. And even then, if we were gonna say, oh, Ellie's suppressing her sorrow, you should see that it's a struggle for her, or that she's doing this intentionally, or even if it's unintentional, see that that is what is happening. But there's been no evidence whatsoever of that being the case. She has been as light and bubbly as we have ever seen her in the last 2 episodes. It does not make any sense. Dina says that she's figured out, or thinks she's figured out, a way to get to the hospital, and pulls out the map and a piece of paper and kind of shows what she's figured out. That, they patrol north and south from this point. So that's the hospital. That's where we're going. But then there's this long, skinny ass building that kind of leads up to it. And she's like, they don't patrol inside that building. So if we go in one side of that building and pop out at the other, which ends very close to the hospital, voila, we've made it past most of their patrols and we still get to the hospital. We're pretty close to it, which is a great idea. But, the way she explained how she figured this out didn't quite make sense, but that's the least of my concerns here. The biggest concern I have is then Dina saying, I know exactly where Nora is in the hospital. And Ellie's like, how the hell did you figure that out? And Dina's like, well, because they talk constantly on the radio and I listen. I can't believe that Ellie has so little interest in this revenge quest that she's not even taking an interest in figuring out what the layout of the enemy is. Like, this is bizarre. I don't know if I can complain hard enough about this. If this was a script that was handed to me, I would say, I do not give a shit about your protagonist because she does not give a shit about the mission. The only one I care about in this situation right now is Dina. She's the only one who seems to want to be doing this. She's putting in all the effort, and I don't care if Ellie doesn't know how to do it. She's still showing almost no interest in being part of this. She's off playing guitar, exploring the building, having a great time, turning on the lights, which they didn't need because Dina was already mapping this stuff out without the lights on because they had enough sunlight coming in to do it. Anyway, Ellie starts commenting about how stupid they are for just blatantly saying over the radio everything that they're doing. And Dina's like, well, yeah, I've been thinking about that. And these scars, the guys that they are fighting against, just like, they kind of seem culty or religious-y, like almost like they're choosing to live in a past century. And she compares them to the Amish, so not using technology and stuff. So she's like, I think that the WLFs aren't afraid of being heard because they know that their enemy's not listening because they aren't using radios, which this feels a lot like this was put in here in order to fill in a loophole, like so that the audience knows that they were aware that this was a big loophole. Like, why would the WLFs be so stupid as to say exactly why they're doing this? And like, well, it's because their enemy doesn't use technology. There are subtle ways to do things, and this is not subtle, but that's fine. It's the least of my problems in all of this. Again, Ellie just whatever. Ellie then says that, all right, they're overconfident, so it gives us an edge. And then Dina points out, well, yeah, but we're being reckless, so that kind of like neutralizes the whole situation again. But Ellie confirms with Dina that if they were to leave right now, then they would make it through that building right around nightfall, so let's just go. And then we see them walking through the streets towards the epicenter of the enemy, talking like nobody's listening.
Are you sure this way is safe?
You don't trust me?
I trust you. I don't trust Seattle.
Me neither. But let's just talk like everything's fine because if I get too anxious, I'm gonna barf again.
All right. How about this? What are you gonna name it? Huh?
If it's a girl, Ellie. If it's a boy, Elijah.
Really?
No.
Why? It's a cool name.
Just like how Ellie was talking about the WLFs talking on the radio like they knew nobody was listening and they were overconfident. Oh my gosh, like the hypocrisy. This bugs me so much. I can't believe that somebody somewhere in the production didn't say, shouldn't we not have our protagonists in enemy territory surrounded by, like they're literally in enemy territory in a place where there are sound sensitive creatures that will come in a horde after them if they hear them. Shouldn't somebody have said, like, maybe we should have them at least whispering or sneaking around, not walking in the middle of a street? Oh my gosh, it's so stupid. This is like the stupidest stupid. What's even worse is that they actually bring this up. Ellie goes, are you sure this way is safe? And Ellie's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure, but let's just keep talking like normal because if we're whispering, it'll make me nervous. What? Oh, who wrote this? Who wrote this and then got permission from HBO to actually film it and then actually put it on screen for other people to watch? Like, oh, this is so good. What? I do not believe for a second that the people who wrote season 1 wrote this season because I do not remember season 1 being this dumb. They then happen across a pile of bodies underneath one of these murals that says feel her love, and it's got the prophet of the scars on there, or what they call themselves, the Seraphites. And they're shocked. And Ellie's like, oh my gosh, and like covering her mouth and like her nose like she's never seen dead bodies before. These girls love killing infected, who are basically half-rotten people anyway. Now, Dina has an excuse for being her stomach turned at this. She's extra sensitive to smells, and there are certain smells that have never grossed her out before that are suddenly going to make her want to vomit. But Ellie? I'm sorry. I don't buy this. You've never seen dead bodies before. You've literally seen dead bodies just the previous episode. And then the episode before that, you saw some. And then the episode before that, you saw a bunch. Like, what? And then Ellie starts having a panic going, oh my gosh, what am I doing? You're having a baby. I shouldn't have brought you here. Like, it's just occurring to you. See, this is just showing how little she thinks about other people. At least, now this is actually somewhat out of character for her compared to previous episodes in this season, because now she is actually considering somebody else. Very much too late. But okay, I get the excuse that they're giving, like, well, she didn't know that Dina was pregnant until just that morning, like that same morning, I guess, or the night before. It seems like it was just the night before. Like, I don't think they've been hanging out in that theater for several days. This seems like the same, it's day 2. Actually, that's the name of the episode, is day 2. So this is the next day. They were banging the night before, woke up in the morning, making out, pillow talk, all that stuff, you know, finding out about the pregnancy and like whatnot. So, okay, so I get that. I do get that. But still, she should have been having these thoughts anyway about Dina, whether she was having a baby or not. You are dragging Dina into this. I don't know. You know what? I think I am maybe just nitpicking this. I'm just very complaining. Anytime that they're going to try to redeem Ellie now with this, like, well, actually, this is what she's like. It feels like it's too little, too late, because we've seen too much of her not giving a shit about this mission of revenge, being nothing but horrible to Joel, and then suddenly like, oh my gosh, I'm horrified that you took him from me and I'm gonna go get you. And it's like, well, you deserve that feeling, sorry. And now it's like, oh, now she's thinking about Dina, even though she hasn't thought about her in any way before this. Ugh. It's just, when you do this stuff too late in a story, it does come out as retconning. You have proven to us time and time again up until now that Ellie is a self-centered, selfish person who does not give a shit about anybody except for those who make her feel good about herself, like Dina. But all of that love and care is really about herself. So here, her like not wanting to go on this revenge quest and like, oh no, I have to put you first. At this point, it's making me go, well, did you actually want to go on revenge anyway? There's just too much that doesn't make sense, so that even this moment here where she finally decides, she's like, oh no, maybe we should turn around, or not even decides, she finally questions, should we turn around? It's not believable, because when you have all of these other things that aren't quite working and then you do this and like, oh wait, but now she's like thinking about going the other way. I'm like, that doesn't work either, because did we see her really wanting to go anyway? Like, so much so that this wouldn't have crossed her mind? No, we didn't. So it's just not believable. I'm sorry. I don't understand how the hell this made it onto HBO streaming. Like, who made the decision to put this up? I've been getting in the comments that Ellie is very different from this in the game. And I can't, from what the descriptions are, she is very angry and vengeful and tunnel vision focus on, I'm gonna go and get them. That would make sense. That would be why she's on this whole, like, if she's like that, we would see the evidence of it. She's on this mission to go and kill. She is driven to kill. Suddenly she becomes aware of this other human life. Her, well, girlfriend or her friend, there's a baby now. There is a baby that has this opportunity to live, and you want to go and put that at risk, and you're going, wait a minute. Maybe now I should think about the baby. Like, this would all make so much better sense if Ellie was that. It was a very poor decision to change Ellie from the game in the way that they have changed her, because if that is accurate, if the people in the comments are correct in Ellie was blindly vengeful and wanted to go and create and wreak havoc on the guys who killed Joel, and then this sort of thing happens and then she can have maybe second thoughts, like, that makes so much more sense. And it was a very bad decision to change her character, because I didn't believe she actually wanted to go on revenge. And now that she's having second thoughts about it, I'm going, but you didn't really want to go anyway. Okay, so Dina, like, ignores Ellie trying to, like, should we turn back? Like, if you want to, we'll go back. Like, this is not what you say. First of all, you say, that's it, we're going back. This is a bad idea, I don't want to keep going. Like, but she's gonna leave it up to Dina, like, you decide. And then Dina turns that around back on Ellie, but anyway, that's fine. So Dina's like, no, we're going. She starts marching off, and she goes,
You know, you never asked me about the first person I killed.
Okay. Who?
She does not sound interested at all. Ellie does not give a shit about anyone but herself. I do not believe that she would be concerned about Dina and her baby. There's too much that's not crossing here, that's not working, whatever. Anyway, so Dina tells the story of how, like, when she was a little kid and she was living up in the mountains with her mom and her sister, she really wanted to go out and play but wasn't allowed to. So one day she snuck out with a gun to go and play, and when she came back, there was a, what do they call it? A bandit? Whatever. There was somebody there who killed her mom and her sister, and the guy started running away, but Dina shot him and killed him. So that's the first person that she killed. And she goes, you know what? If I had been there to watch the guy kill my family, or even if I didn't, no matter what, if that guy had gotten away and I had not killed him, I would have spent my entire life hunting him down. So she's basically doing now what she would have done then. She's saying, that's why I'm going on this with you. It's fine. This is a fine backstory. I sure would have loved to have seen this actually as a flashback. That would have been great. Would have given Dina a little more dimension, even though she's actually one of the more dimensional characters in this so far. I mean, sort of. She's at least smart. I think even better would have been for her to talk about how close she felt to Joel, that she never had a dad growing up, and that it was really cool that he was so open to her, like, coming over and, you know, teaching her stuff, and they would watch movies together. Like, remember, Joel was talking about how Dina is the one who treats me like a human being. She was the one who we saw in episode 1 of this season, sitting down and taking an interest in his relationship with Ellie and in the stuff that he was doing and just talking to him like a daughter would with a dad. So I would have been really interested to see that Dina created even more of a nice deep bond with Joel. And she's like, you know what? He's just as important to me as you. Maybe at least she would say in some way, like I didn't have a father, and I can't believe that they took him from you. You can relay that other story or maybe show us in a flashback, but bring that argument up. But she doesn't. She doesn't bring up that Joel was like a father for her too, when she never had one. And this should make Ellie like, you're right. That's how I should feel too. Oh my God, you know what? Actually, it's a good thing they didn't put that in, because then it would have made Ellie look terrible. Anyway, at the end of that, Dina says, so I'll do whatever you want to do, Ellie. Whatever it is that you want to do, I will do it. And Ellie's like, okay, let's go. This script feels all over the place. It feels like they don't really have any direction. They're trying to throw in all these curveballs like it's going to change something, but we didn't believe that they were going any direction in the first place. So throwing in curveballs and then rejecting the curveballs, it doesn't make going in that direction like a stronger choice. See, what happens is if you're going in a certain direction and then the curveball you're faced with is there's going to be a major consequence to this, like baby could die, that should be the temptation to go back. And rejecting that makes your wanting to go forward stronger. But we never saw them actually wanting to go in a certain direction. So when they're presented with, oh, well, you know, there's a baby now and the baby could die, and you reject that, it feels like you're saying, I don't really care. I just want to keep going on my trip, doing whatever I'm doing, even though we haven't seen that that's anything special. Like, so you are willing to kill a baby so that you can just keep going on your girl's trip and hopefully maybe kill some guys that you don't really care about. Like, you care less about possibly killing a baby than you care about the thing that you've been doing, which shows that which you have shown does not really matter to you that much. This does not make any sense. How does this stuff get on TV, especially HBO? By the way, I've heard it again and again, and my family's been saying it over and over again. Apple is the new HBO. HBO, what is this? Oh my gosh, I'm just getting sidetracked. I gotta get back to this stupid show. It's very easy for me to get sidetracked. I don't know if you noticed this, but in my last video, or maybe it was the one for episode 3, I'm wearing white nail polish at the beginning of that. I was so bored during my review while I was watching the episode again that I was doing my nails and like, yeah, at least I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Yeah, so you'll notice that I'm slowly losing the nail polish on each nail, like as my review progresses. I don't remember which one it is, but it's one of those 2. Anyway, Ellie did ask one probing question to Dina. How did you get to Jackson? Like, you killed the guy who killed your mom and sister, so you were just a lone kid all by yourself. So how did you get to Jackson? She never thought to ask that before. Was Dina there before Ellie? I guess they've never clarified that, but that would be something I'd be interested in knowing. You would think that that would be a big story with everybody, that everybody would have their story of how they got to Jackson. So I'm curious now. Like, I am the most curious about that. Like, I don't give a shit about anything else happening in this story. I want to know, how did Dina get to Jackson? I'll bet she had a harrowing story that was equally as interesting as Ellie's, or almost equally, because, I mean, Dina's not immune. But yeah, anyway, the thing is, if you do die, Dina, it will be Ellie's fault, because the decision is now hers to either go or stay. I don't know, these people just don't think very much before they say things. That's fine. Okay, I don't know why, but there was a moment after Ellie was like, yeah, let's go, where Dina almost, I thought she was gonna be like, so you don't care about me. I don't know what it was about the music, the directing, the way that she kind of looked at Ellie and then sort of like nodded and walked off. It really looked like she was about to say that, okay, obviously you don't care about me dying, or she was thinking that. Before we continue, please like, subscribe, and comment, even if it's just with an emoji. It's a free way for you to support the channel, and for me, it might bring in some money from all the commercials they keep putting on my videos. Or if you're feeling super generous, check out my Patreon or Ko-fi. I've got links in the description. Or you can hit the Money Heart Thanks button down below. Now, let's get back to it. They get to the big, long, skinny building. It's nighttime, and there's searchlights searching around. And Dina's like, okay, wait here. And she goes up ahead to the fence and pulls out some bolt cutters. She packed bolt cutters with her? What else does she have packed in there? This is starting to look like the Mary Poppins carpet bag that just has endless amounts of supplies in it. Like, what? Why did she think to bring bolt cutters? That's just so weird. I do not know why they didn't just have them climb over the fence. They get inside the building, and immediately Dina talks about things that the audience probably would have figured out, but it's like the writers want the audience to know we've thought of all the loopholes, so we're just gonna have characters say what those loopholes are and why they don't work. So she says 2 positives. First off, the searchlights are way up high, so they're not gonna be shining directly into this building, so they won't be able to see us, and like, yay. And then Ellie's like, what's the other positive? And she goes, the other positive is that door leading, onward in the direction that they need to go is open, and nothing came out to kill us yet. So one of the concerns that was brought up before when they were back at the theater and they were planning all this out was that, oh, the reason they're not patrolling this building, there's got to be a reason for it, must be because there's infected in there. And I am wondering if the infected follow sound and they are not completely averted to sunlight as we have seen in the past, it would make me wonder why they would assume that there's infected in this building. Like, if the infected are not limited to staying in areas where there's no sun, they can leave. Why wouldn't they come out of this building after the WLF on their patrols? Why wouldn't they? Whatever. I don't care. Let's just keep going. You sometimes get to a point where there are so many problems with the scenarios, especially when it comes to world building like this, where you go, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense because of this thing. And if you do this other thing, that won't make a sense either because of this other thing. And you've got things that are contradicting themselves and creating all of these problems that there's no point in trying to solve the problems. Like, as a developmental editor, I'm supposed to try to help people fix their stories with the least amount of changes to their story as possible, like help them to save the essence of their story. But sometimes big changes are needed, and you hope that you catch those at the very, very beginning of your drafts. Like draft 1, have your developmental editor read through it, and they'll like, hey, you can't do this because it's gonna screw up everything that comes after it. And this is one of those things. And there's just too many things in this story that don't add up, don't make sense, or create impossible situations. You've got to create limits and rules for your world. And then when you have your characters interacting with that world, you have to keep those rules in place. Anyway, I don't care. Let's keep going. Ellie goes to check the open door because she's the one who can't get infected. I'm glad that she at least brought that up. Like, hey, maybe I should go look because I'm the one who can't get infected. And mentions that, it's empty and haunted like us. Well, actually, that's what Dina says, which was funny. I liked that. But then they come back to discuss, and Dina does that whole thing again of informing the audience that the writers are aware of the situation and the problems and what they should be thinking. She's just saying it out loud. But I mean, this is not the worst thing ever because at least they're doing that. I just feel like there are so many more clever ways to have done this, but Anyway, so Dina explains it's probably not a horde, right? Probably just like a few runners and clickers or whatever, because the WLFs are right outside and there's no way that they would just ignore that if it was a horde. So chances are it's probably just a couple of things. Like, we can handle that. We can handle just a few of those things. We've done it before. You guys have handled it so confidently before that you went into a building with only your daggers drawn. So I don't know why they're making a big deal about this. Honestly, it's kind of undoing anything that happened before this. So not that much, but enough that it's annoying me. Oh my gosh, this is so stupid. I cannot believe that this conversation even made it into the final, Dina actually has to convince Ellie that it's really important that they not shoot their guns. And it does seem that Ellie did not really see why this was such a big deal. Like, why not? Like, oh my gosh. This would have been so much better if they were conferring on this, that they both already knew that would be the stupidest thing to do is shoot our guns. And that Ellie is like, right, like they're able to almost finish each other's sentences knowing what the dangers would be. That would have been so much better than this, where it looks like Dina literally has to explain to Ellie, hello, if you shoot your gun, we're gonna have the entire WLF army on top of us. We can't fight that. We are not equipped to fight an army. It literally seems like she has to convince Ellie that it's a bad idea to be attacked by a whole huge army. And then it seems that this entire bit of conversation here happened specifically so that Dina could say, you're a bit reckless, that's why I love you, just offhandedly, and then Ellie could go, you love me? Oh my gosh, that is exactly why they had this conversation, isn't it? It is. That's exactly why they did this, so that they could have that moment where Dina offhandedly says, that's why I love you, and it could be this big deal between her and Ellie. Oh my gosh, this is so dumb. I don't mind that sort of thing happening, but the way that they did it was by making Ellie look so dumb that she had to be sat down like a child and explained, hello, you don't want to die, do you? Well, then how about you don't do the thing that would be a guaranteed death for both of us and stop making jokes about it? Oh my gosh. That bit of conversation should have happened back at the theater instead of that whole like,
Ellie.
Yes?
oh my gosh, it was so painful. This is awful. Whose idea was this? There's no way the game was this bad, right? People keep telling me in the comments, oh, you should definitely watch the footage of the game after this. I do plan to. Once this whole season, story, whatever is over, I'm gonna watch the game and I'm going to do a review of the game, like to compare it to the show. Because at that point, I will know the show inside and out because I have to watch the episode a million times every time I edit these things. And then I'll be able to watch the game and go, okay, I can watch the game like I'm doing right now. I can sit down and watch it and then just react to it like this. So I will do that, I promise. Anyway, oh my gosh, let's go. I do love Dina's jacket. It's still the best thing about this show for me. It's just getting to admire her jacket. Aviator Nation. We actually get a pretty good little dramatic, like tense moment here where the girls decide, okay, we go with our daggers, but no gun. And they're going through this hallway. I didn't like that they have their flashlights on because that would just be a dead giveaway to anybody who is outside and looks at the building if they happen to pass a window. And then they do end up in this bigger room where there are lots of windows and you can even see the searchlight goes in there. Like I would immediately, there's windows, shut off the flashlights. You will definitely be seen from the outside. But anyway, it's good. It's tense because they're going forth with just their daggers and they're being very quiet and they're listening carefully. They're finally whispering, like finally. I would be whispering very quiet, but I know you have to do that kind of in Hollywood, which is fine. It's for the sake of film. They are whispering. We get the idea. It's a sort of I call it a film whisper. It's more than how you would actually whisper in real life, but it's not as much as you would like on stage. Like a stage whisper is still being projected very loudly, but this is a film whisper. I don't know why I'm making a big deal about that. I'm actually happy with this. This is good. But then when they get into this big room with the windows, they do not shut off their flashlights, and that bugged me. Like they should have instantly turned them off. It would have been so creepy because they do come across like one of those stalking infected, like one of the smart ones. And it would have been cool if the way that they saw it was one of those searchlights briefly lit it up, like they just saw it for a split second. That would have been so scary. But anyway, so they notice the one stalking them and they sit down, they're like, what are we gonna do? And at least Ellie's the one who comes up with a plan. So she's like, okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna split up and it's going to try to flank one of us. So whichever one it does start following, the other one comes up from behind on it. Like, that's a good plan. I like it. And they're about to get up and go, but then they see that there's another one, and then they quickly duck down and like, oh no, what do we do? Dina's like, let's just go back the way we came. Like, okay, so they're gonna do that. But they turn around and there's more. I'm sorry, but they're sitting there chatting and planning stuff. Why didn't the thing get closer and just pounce on them from up top while they were, okay, that's fine. I can actually excuse this, but I feel like, if we were going to try to be more realistic, that's what would happen. But this is not a show that's trying to be realistic at this point, so they're surrounded. Finally, Ellie starts acting smart. Her ability to survive seems to come out of nowhere, but anyway, she goes, all right, because they're surrounded. There's obviously tons of these things in here. She tells Dina, you see that cage over there? There's obviously like an area that's caged off for, I don't know, electrical reasons. She's like, I'm gonna draw as many of them towards myself as I can. You're gonna run in there and secure that gate, like get in there. And she's like, I can get bit a lot, but you can't survive having your stomach ripped out or your throat ripped out, right? And that's pretty much what these things do once they catch you. They don't just bite you and walk away like, okay, you're bit. I think they eat people, don't they? I seem to remember them eating people. This doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Okay, and then it doesn't play out in a way that makes much sense. So they split up, and Ellie starts shooting her gun to draw attention to herself. Ellie just barely makes it into this thing and closes the gate. And then Ellie's shooting at the creatures and Dina's shooting at the creatures, and they seem to be really struggling to either actually hit the creatures or kill them. Things that have died from single gunshots before are no longer dying from single gunshots anymore. Like, remember, Dina killed the one that was biting Ellie's arm with a shot just to the gut. So how come these girls can't shoot anymore? Like, they are taking these wild shots all over the place and not hitting anything. It makes no sense.
Did you get bit?
What? No. She's okay. I was watching. They didn't bite her.
They're surrounded. Dina shoots until she's out of ammo. And I'm like, didn't you say in the beginning, like, we stuff our pockets full of ammo? Where are your backup cartridges? Whatever. Anyway, Ellie is literally laying on the ground with infected on top of her, eating her stomach. And then suddenly somebody comes in, shoots the infected that's on top of her, and then the one over by Dina, and comes over, reaches out, and it's Jesse. Now, I'm sorry. I thought it was going to be a WLF member. I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be one of the two guys that killed Joel, and Ellie is going to be like, oh my gosh, they didn't recognize me, and like they're going to kill him now, but it's Jesse. And now I'm just going, how the did he know that they were here? Like, what? Yeah, but he's like, oh, did you get bit? Did you get bit? And Dina comes running over from the cage like, no, she didn't get bit. I was watching her. I swear. Jesse, I swear. Ellie should be bleeding out of her stomach right now because she was being bit. Like, I'm suddenly so happy. Like, oh my gosh, this will be so much better with Jesse in it now. Jesse just totally saves their asses. So not only does he save them from the infected, but they clear out of that building as fast as they can, and then suddenly the WLF are firing at them, but Jesse is like leading the way, like, just keep running, I will cover us. Thank God he was there. How the hell did he know where they were? He sees a park and he's like, let's run in there. I do not understand. This makes no sense. How the hell did he know exactly what building they were in? Seattle is enormous. Even if you know the WLF is right in there, what did he have a radio too, knowing, well, they're gonna go through this building? Like, what? This is fantastic. So, okay, they have an explanation for how Jesse knew to go into that building.
Jesse.
What?
How did you find us?
The map you left in the theater. Impressive triangulation, by the way.
Thanks, that was all Dina.
Trust me, I didn't think it was you.
How did you find the theater?
Do I look like I want to talk to you right now?
How did he find find the theater? It's a good thing he didn't answer, because I guarantee there's no reason why they should have known that they went into the theater. If Jesse and Tommy were 2 days behind Dina and Ellie this whole time, they would not have been able to follow their tracks. There has been torrential rain. Like, how? Oh my gosh, anyway. But I love that Jesse is putting Ellie in her place, and Ellie looks so annoyed. And I'm like, please just give it to her, and he is.
Jesse,
What?
how did you find us?
The map you left in the theater.
Relax. I'm the map. It's all up here.
Oh, that's comforting.
Impressive triangulation, by the way.
Thanks, that was old Dina.
Trust me, I didn't think it was you.
Oh my gosh.
How did you find the theater?
Do I look like I want to talk to you right now?
I've been waiting for this. Then Dina's like, well, so was it just you? And Jesse's like, no, Tommy came with me. We split up when we got to Seattle to try and find you. We're supposed to rendezvous in the morning. And Ellie's like, they sent you guys after us? Like, and oh my gosh.
Can't believe they sent you after us.
They didn't.
Because the town finally realized that Ellie was actually a detriment to their survival. Because no, they weren't going to let us go after you. So me and Tommy snuck out that next night because you guys were going to die. And that Ellie has the gall to say,
That's a good thing we did.
You know what, we're doing pretty f***ing good up
Until what?
until we weren't.
just like the child she's behaving like, she needs to be talked to like this. You were doing pretty good? Really? And there's no way out of it. So Ellie has to admit, yeah, until we weren't doing good. Oh my gosh. It feels so good for some character to be calling her out on her bullshit. This is like cathartic. I am suddenly enjoying this so much more just because Jesse is here. Somebody who's competent calls Ellie out on her bullshit. And that's it. That's all it has to be. Competent and will call Ellie out on her bullshit. That's all it takes to make me happy. My brother once said something that I've come to realize is so true. Half the time, when you find yourself rooting for a villain, it's not because you actually like the villain, it is because you're just rooting for competence. More than likely, your likable villain is just extremely competent, and that's why you enjoy watching them. And that's what I'm seeing here with Jesse. He knows what he's doing. He obviously found the girls and saved their asses, and then got them out of trouble from both Infected and the WLF. Oh my gosh. I want Ellie to die, and for him to, oh my gosh, Jesse's gonna die. That is the only way this makes sense, because I cannot see Jesse agreeing to go on this revenge mission with Dina and Ellie. Especially if he finds out that Dina is pregnant. He's gonna die. That's the only logical thing to happen here. He's gotta be killed. And he's gonna die saving their lives. That's, oh my gosh. Why am I watching this?
So what now?
Find a way out, get back to the theater, shelter for the night, meet up with Tommy, and then we all go home.
No, Ellie.
Oh my gosh. Okay, all right, so Jesse relays the plan to them. Like, he's in charge now, by the way, which he should be. So he says, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get back to the theater, and we're gonna stay there for the night. Then tomorrow morning, we're gonna meet up with Tommy, and then we are all going the hell back to Jackson. And Ellie's like, no, fine, stay here on your own, bitch. I'm sorry. You do not deserve to have any help on this mission that you didn't even really want to go on in the first place. But then we get some whistles, and holy shit. Okay, so first of all, they ran into this park to get away from the WLFs that were chasing them. And as soon as they got into this park, which it was Jesse's idea, which was smart, like, hey, we'll go in there and lose them in the bushes. The WLF stopped at the entrance to the park and like, no, we don't go in there. And then it dawned on all of them, oh shit, there must be infected in here. But at least we have a better chance against the infected than against the WLFs, because the infected don't have machine guns and they're less armed. So they're traipsing through the forest as they're having all this conversation. Then, right after Ellie goes, no, we're not going back home. What's she gonna do? She's not gonna convince them all to go back. Oh my gosh, it's so dumb. But they hear a whistle. And Ellie goes like, what the hell is that? It's somebody whistling further inside the park. Oh, see, this is why I complained about the whistling earlier, because you would whistle to communicate in a style that's bird-like. And you do that so that people who might hear you assume it's a bird and not a person. whistling commands and whatnot does not stop people from knowing there's a person. There's people over there, and they are obviously communicating something with this whistling. So there's other people listening. So it's multiple parties of people whistling to each other. That's why it should, whatever. Anyway, so the scars are in here. That's why the WLFs didn't go into the park, because the park is where the scars are. I don't really understand why the scars are in the park. Why are the scars here? I don't get that at all. Like, and why would the WLF go hunting them down when they try to leave? I'm sorry, some things are just not adding up. Like, are they fighting over this territory? But the scars don't want anything to do with technology. Like, why would you stay in the city if you have no interest in technology? Whatever, I don't care. Moving on. Well, so it becomes obvious that there's a bunch of these scars because they come out of the trees with torches, whistling to each other. It's obvious that they have detected that somebody has come into their forest, so they're looking around. And I say the kids, they are kids. Except Jesse, he's actually acting like a man. He's like, all right, let's go. We got to get out of here, like, before they get too close to us. So they're walking away, sneaking away through the woods, and they come across a whole bunch of these scars in a well-lit little grove. And they have a man who's obviously a WLF, and they're going to hang him. And the guy's like, wait, I'll join you guys. And they're like, we're not interested. And he's like, wait, I can tell you about stuff that, I can tell you what Isaac's next move is going to be. And they're like, we don't believe anything you're going to say, and something about what the prophet said, whatever. Anyway, and then they put him up on a bucket and then pull out a sickle and stab him through the gut, and then raise him up by his neck so that it slits him open and they disembowel him. So this is how they killed all the others. This is their method of execution, which seems like a very complicated way to execute people, especially if you had snuck into a building where there are other WLFs. Like, that's where they were before. Remember when we saw all those guys hanging from the ceiling? Like, this was a WLF stronghold. I was under the impression, like, remember? They're like, that's the building we want to get into. That's the place that has the WLF thing up at the top of it. And so they sneak in there and they find a bunch of these guys, like, they went through all that trouble. Why not just kill them all? Whatever. Anyway, so they're watching this. The good guys are watching this in total horror, which, yes. Then suddenly they hear a whistle from behind or to the side or I don't know where, and an arrow comes out of the dark out of nowhere and nails Dina right in the thigh. Poor Jesse's like, oh, f***. Like, yes, what else could go wrong? These stupid bitches. What I don't understand is why more arrows didn't follow. They just sit here. They've just been shot, so somebody has a line of sight on them. And Dina's been shot, and no follow-up arrows. And then Ellie does the same thing she did earlier in the room when they had all the intelligent infected coming after them. She says, you get Dina out of here. I'll meet you back at the theater. Just go. And so, without hesitation, Jesse just picks up Dina and runs off. And Ellie starts shooting her gun and running off in a different direction. I mean, at least this was smart-ish. I really don't understand why the scars are here. Why are they here? But anyway, let's just ignore that very problematic and unexplained situation and keep going. They're chasing Ellie now. These are folks on foot with torches. And remember, one of them had a line of sight on the group because they were able to shoot Dina in the thigh. So what, that person didn't see them split off? Or what? In addition to not shooting more arrows, just let them go and didn't keep an eye on them. Okay. Anyway, Ellie sees one enormous tree with plenty of nooks and crannies where somebody could hide in and goes straight for it and hides in there. And then all these scars come out with their torches and just stand there looking around and decide she's not here. These guys are just as bad at clearing an area as the WLFs are. Did they all learn from the same trainer? I don't understand. Like, they just stand there literally like 5 feet away from where Ellie is. They don't just don't look in that giant crevice where a person can hide. Just keep my eyes this way. Anyway, she's like, all right, nobody's here. May she guide us, or may she, whatever. I don't care what the hell she says. And everybody just gives up, gives the signal, she's not here. And instead of continuing to spread out looking, they all head back to camp wherever they were before. Oh my gosh. I guess they didn't care that much about catching her, but it seemed like they were still going to go and look for her just in the opposite direction they saw her going. Whatever. Oh my gosh. And then Ellie climbs out of her hidey hole while they're still right there, okay, now usually I can let this thing go, but there are too many other things that are bugging me, and now I can't let this go either, because I hate this. I hate this. If I was hiding for my life, I would be hiding out in that spot for hours until I hadn't heard anybody for hours. At this point, Ellie should have no idea which way is north, south, east, or west. And she obviously would not know how to use the stars to navigate because she's just not that smart. So she shouldn't know where the hell she is or where she's going from this point forward. Like, she's screwed. She wouldn't know which way is out of the park or which way is in. She should literally wait until she can be sure she knows which direction the scars are, and then she can go the opposite direction. And she should go as stealthily as possible, probably on her hands and knees at the pace just slightly more than what a sloth would go, because you wouldn't want to make any noise. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait, even if she does get out of this park, it's occurring to me, like, if she gets out and she's on the streets, how is she going to know where the hell she is? She's not going to have a clue where she is or how to get back to the theater. She won't know. How would she know? Unless she waited till morning and then thought to herself, which way's north, south, east, or west? She didn't even think to bring a map when she wanted to go to Seattle. She's like, I'll just head northwest until I get there. Like, I don't believe for a second. Oh my gosh. This is so stupid. If she actually makes it back to the theater, it will be the most unbelievable thing to have happened yet in this entire series. Wow. Oh, it's worse. Okay, so she happens, as she's running, to come across that. I mean, that's fine. That's actually fine. She happens to come across a door that says hospital, like she knows she's made it to the hospital, like she just has to go through that door or whatever. Like, she's at least found the hospital building. So she's gonna go do that. And there's this, like, I love that the camera pushes in on her and she sees the door, like, you can see that the tunnel vision is narrowing, like she's gonna go in there. The only problem is they did not lead up to this moment well at all. We should have seen that, like, determination, that insane drive to get to the hospital to kill Nora, but we didn't. It was just a day out. So I don't believe this moment for a second. And equally unbelievable is the fact that there are all these Seraphites living in this park that butts right up against the hospital. The heavily guarded hospital that Dina explained was so heavily guarded that the only way they could get to it is through this long, skinny-ass building full of infected. Which it didn't make any sense that there's infected in there when there's literally WLF people outside and the infected could have just come out of the building to kill the WLF. Oh my gosh. None of this makes sense. Why are there Seraphites in this park? The WLF should have come through there long ago with a MIG gun and just cleared the entire park. Otherwise, you would have them climbing into the hospital through the windows, right? Whatever. Then, oh my gosh. Okay, so we see her, like, on in the forest, like, looking at the hospital. She's come to one side and there's like a guard and his dog. And we don't see Ellie during any of this, but the dog obviously is like full alert, enemy over there, starts going nuts. And the guard man is like, okay, let's go. We track over to where we see there's this hole in the wall of the hospital, and Ellie has obviously just crawled through there because we literally saw her, like, pulling the backpack behind her into the hole. And the dog is barking like crazy at this hole, and the guard's standing over it going, oh, it's just a critter or something. What? This is so stupid. Your dog is doing what it has literally been trained to do. It is alerting you, enemy, alert, enemy. And he's like, oh, must be a critter. You didn't see that critter. And look, there's a hole large enough for a person to fit through. What the hell is wrong with these writers? I don't know. Maybe they're implying that this dog is new also. Like, oh, it's only had like a couple weeks of training and they decided to put it on patrol anyway, right at the hospital, which is supposedly so valuable to them, that it would bark insanely at a squirrel in the same way it would bark insanely at an armed enemy. You know, the way that dogs do. They don't. And the guy doesn't even bother to look in through the hole. Like, you have a flashlight, just get down and look through the hole. Oh my gosh, that is so stupid. Or he should have been able to see that the grass was smushed down or torn or whatever right getting into there. And what, you think a squirrel did that? Even a fox wouldn't do that. And that would probably be the only other large creature that could just, like, go in there like that. Ellie would have had to have smashed that grass down to get, oh my gosh, this guy is so stupid. Like, hell, whatever. I think they must be implying that these guys are really incompetent. So it was easy. Anybody could have gotten in there. Heck, a 10-year-old kid could have climbed in there and easily gotten past these guards, right? Because they essentially treated it the same way they would have if a 10-year-old had just done the same thing. Like, Ellie is not being depicted as clever or stealthy or anything competent. The enemy who she's trying to get past is being depicted as stupid and incompetent. Your protagonist defeating an incompetent enemy does not look competent. They just look a little better than incompetent. That's how it works. I don't know why that is hard for people to understand. If you're writing a story and you ever find yourself tempted to, I really got to get this character out of this situation, well, you know what? I'm going to have the person who's preventing them from getting out of this situation, I'm going to have them do something stupid, or like they didn't notice something, or I'm going to have them trip, or something coincidental happen.
Stop it. Get some help.
You've written yourself into a corner. If you can't think of a way to get them out of it, maybe consult some other people. Get some trusted friends or people who you know are really good at storytelling or coming up with creative ideas. Present your problem to them and say, what would you do? What would you have happen? They might be able to help you. Sometimes writer's block just happens. But sometimes you write your character into a corner and there literally is no way out, except to either kill them off, get them captured, or to rewrite your story so they don't end up in that situation again. Those are your options, but one of your options should never be make the enemy who is preventing this person from getting out of this situation dumber. That's never the option. Never. Because it will just make your story seem weak. Because it will be. It will be a weak story. This is weak. Anyway, Ellie somehow figures out where the northeast wing is or whatever. Remember when Dina was like, that's where Nora is going to be or whatever. Because she seems to find Nora real easily. I do have to note that I didn't realize that Nora, who they have been listening to the radio, and she's like obviously the one that people bring the injured to, I thought it was the other girl with the long hair, not the bald girl. I thought it was the other girl who was the medical one because she was the one who was like getting the syringe and checking out Dina's injuries and whatnot. Like, I don't know, she had frostbite or something, whatever. I think it would have been better if that was who we were up against here because she was shown to be the medical one back at the Joel killing scene, whatever. It's okay. Anyway, so Ellie has found her and gotten her alone. Right? That was easy. Barely an inconvenience, right? I do want to stress that I don't find the coincidence of her coming across the hospital bad. Like that's fine. They were in the vicinity of the hospital when they came out of that building, so it would make sense that she could possibly randomly run into an entrance to the hospital and then, of course, decides, I'm going to go through with this. The problem I had with her coming across that hospital door was that I didn't believe that she really had the tunnel vision to go in there from the first place. So it didn't strike me as like, oh, wow, she's really going to want to go in there, but whatever. It's fine. That's fine. This, however, her finding Nora, they're just ignoring that they have portrayed Ellie as completely incompetent up to this point. I don't believe for a second that she would be able to find Nora in the hospital, even if she was not, like, I don't think that she would. Sorry. And the only reason she didn't get caught by that guard is because she had a stupid guard. He should have looked in there and seen her. This is exhausting. Anyway, so Ellie confronts Nora, like, hey, put that shit down, because Nora was cleaning some rags, or she's pouring some chemicals on them or something. And she's like, you recognize me? Yeah, you do recognize me. Nora's like, what do you want? Like, what do you think she wants? That was a dumb line. But it was in there to progress the conversation forward. I wish I cared more about this encounter. Nora says that if you shoot that gun, every soldier is going to come running, and Ellie's like, so what, you'll still be dead. Tell me where Abby is. And Nora's like, I don't know. And Ellie's like, I don't believe you, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, Nora starts actually trying to bargain or plead for her life or like give reasons why you should let me live. She's like, we could have killed you. And Ellie's like, so what? Nora is doing a better job defending her right to live than Joel did. Okay, at least Nora is a competent enemy. So Nora starts emotionally distracting Ellie, saying, gosh, it was horrible what we did to him, and I'm so sorry you had to see it. Like, I still hear his screams in my nightmares. Like, she's distracting Ellie with emotion, which is actually, it's like the final strategy. So, you know, if distance, timing, and skill are not doing the trick, the last thing you pull out of the bag is emotional distraction. but it does cause a delay and an alteration of intentional reflex. So it is going to give her the advantage in this situation. So good job here. But then Nora suddenly like gives away what her plan is and goes, little bitch got what he deserved. And she grabs the tray that she had and launches it at Ellie. And I don't know if drawing Ellie to anger that might cause her to shoot would be the best thing to do at the last possible moment. And it seemed like she was being well enough distracted just by being reminded of how much pain Joel was in. So she launches this tray of chemicals. It's what it looked like, chemicals in Ellie's face. I can't believe she's not blind. Even if it was soap, you'd be out for a while because she got it right in the eyes. And Nora goes running off through the hospital, yelling, intruder, intruder. And Ellie is way behind her, but running after her. It's actually a good chase. I am more engaged now because we finally have a competent enemy. That is literally why I'm engaged. We have an enemy who's competent and rightfully managed to outwit and get away from Ellie when she was literally cornered. She managed to run past Ellie. The Ellie who had a gun could not defeat this woman and her brain. But of course, then we have some convenient incompetence again. Ellie is shooting at this woman and can't hit her for some reason. Fine, I can say she was running, but then as the woman is running, she's like yelling out like, shoot her, shoot her. And you see a bunch of other people up on the balconies with semi-automatic rifles shooting down at Ellie and missing. What? They're stormtroopers now. Yeah, I don't even know if I really buy that Nora would say this, little bitch deserved to die like he did or whatever. Because everybody except Abby was really disturbed by how that went down. So this feels a bit like they're retconning what the people in that room were thinking. The only person who showed any, not even interest in killing Joel, except for Abby, but, being aggressively violent towards Joel and those guys. Like the only one who showed any interest in that was, I think his name was Maddie or Matt or something, whatever, the guy who Ellie slashed in the forehead. That was it, just that guy. Because he wanted to kill Ellie because she slashed him in the forehead. But this does feel like they are retconning how the people in that room felt. So either she was telling the truth and that was a retcon, or she was lying in order to distract Ellie, which wasn't all that smart. But either way, I just liked that she was mostly smart in this situation. She managed to get past Ellie. Anyway, this is actually a good chase. We see that Nora throws obstacles in Ellie's way, and then she ends up running past that welded shut door into a hallway where there's like no passing anymore, like you know where to go. And so she sees the elevator shaft and she opens up the doors and gets herself in there. Remember, the elevators are supposedly stuck and can't go up or down. But when she jumps up on top of the elevator, suddenly it falls and she's down now at basement level 2, which is the bad level. Yeah. What about B1? What happened to B1? But whatever, that's fine. I believe that she fell. This is good. And then Ellie comes in over on top of her and starts shooting her, so where's she gonna go? Anyway, then we get, this has gotta be the best scene so far in the show. It's definitely the creepiest. So Ellie starts getting shot at from above by other WLFs are coming. So anyway, she climbs down the elevator shaft and she goes into level B2 also. And you can hear all the other WLF guys going, seal it off, seal it off. And Ellie walks in and she sees the guys who were obviously that previous WLF group that went in there and they said, seal off the room. They're like plastered to the wall with all these fungus growing around them and they're all breathing. And this like puff of spores is coming out of their mouth every time that they exhale. I don't know if you've ever been around a mushroom when it has exhaled like that, because they actually do this. It's bizarre. It is a very strong fragrance. I was sleeping once inside a cabin with the window open, and it was during mushroom season, and the mushroom patch was at least 30 feet away from the window on the outside, but I was dead asleep and woke up from the fragrance of very strong mushroom powder. Like, it's hard to describe it in any other way. It's like it does almost smell toxic and it's hard to breathe, but I woke up from it and looked out the window and I was like, I thought maybe something had kicked over the mushroom, like maybe an elk had gone by and kicked it over, but when I went out the next day to look, like, where did that come from, I found the patch, and it was just, the mushroom had literally just exhaled. It's so weird. But, I mean, I didn't see it happen, but I could tell that this is a deflated mushroom. Like, it's weird. But yeah, anyway, it's very creepy. I love this. You can see the spores floating around in the air. Anyway, Ellie hears Nora coughing down the hall or whatever, somewhere, other room. And she turns on the electric power for a light, obviously for dramatic effect, because there was no reason for her to do that. But anyway, so she turns on the light and finds Nora collapsed on the ground, coughing, choking. She's dying. Well, I mean, getting infected. But she's feeling, I know exactly how she's feeling, because I literally woke up from that fragrance. And it wasn't like, ooh, it does almost suffocate you. It's such a strong smell. It's weird. All right, this next scene is mostly good, except for the lead-in, which is a bit juvenile. She's like, Nora's like, you idiot, there's spores in the air, like, we're both infected, you've killed us both. I don't think she needed to say anything. We could have just deduced she's dying. And then when Ellie comes over to her and we see, like, her looking at Ellie and realizing Ellie is completely unaffected, and then just have her say, oh my gosh, you're the immune girl. Like, that would have been better but for dramatic effect, they wanted to have Ellie go, did I just kill us both? You know, she doesn't say it that way. She says, did I? Because the girl's like, you killed us both. And Ellie's like, did I? And then the girl's like, oh my gosh, you're immune. It's true. One of the easiest ways to make your writing more mature is to not say exactly what the audience is supposed to be thinking or the exact thing that the characters are thinking. Let us see it in the performances. Let us understand what is going through their heads. Like, it's just much, especially in a visual medium like this, it is so much more sophisticated to use your medium. Anyway, so yeah, it dawns on her that Ellie was not infected, and then she goes, Joel came into that hospital and killed everyone in that hospital, including the only person who could have made a cure from you. That was Abby's father. And Ellie goes, I know. What? So they're implying now that Ellie has known all along about this, yet they have never shown that she does. This is... Okay, we'll see how this goes. Anyway, she's starting to pressure Nora because she wants to know where Abby is. Nora says no. She's not going to tell her. And then Ellie goes and picks up a lead pipe and asks again. And when Nora says no, she starts hitting Nora's legs and repeating, where is she? Where is she? My only problem with this scenario here is if I was Nora, I would be goading her to kill me, because I don't think that it's ever been clarified if when you're infected, you have completely lost consciousness. Like, how do we know that all these infected people aren't still somehow conscious and aware, but just unable to control their bodies? Because that can happen. That is a thing. And that's a thing even without real life cordyceps of any kind. Like, this has happened to people in the real world. So that would be a horror that if I was Nora, I would not want to experience, and just even the possibility of it. So I would be goading Ellie to kill me. So in this case, Ellie is falling for it. And Ellie's not very smart, because she could actually tell Nora, look, I'll kill you real quick here. I will make it fast. I will clobber you in the skull so hard that you're out in a second if you tell me where Abby is. That would be the best way to conduct this interrogation. And then we just see her, we don't have that. We see her continuing to beat Nora, and then it cuts to black, and that's the end. Nope, no wait, it's not the end. Sorry, I just filmed my whole ending to the episode, and then I realized there's actually another scene. Like, okay, so then we get one little snippet scene. It cuts to black with her and Nora, and we see Ellie asleep in bed back in Joel's house. This is obviously flashback, and she wakes up when Joel comes into the room and goes, hey, kiddo, and she goes, hey. Like, okay, whatever. It doesn't that, fine, whatever. They're teasing what they're going to do next in the next episode. They obviously had to show something with Joel, so we'd want to see what happens next. I am very curious about how they're going to get Ellie out of this situation. She is in an area that they have sealed off, right? And there's WLF guys upstairs who are sealing this place off right now because they saw, oh my gosh, they opened the shaft. Quick, seal it off, seal it off. And remember how they sealed off the last entrance to that area? They welded it shut. So that's what I'm expecting they're going to do with Ellie's elevator shaft, the one remaining entrance back into this room. Like it's just the elevator shafts and the air vents. Okay, maybe she'll climb out through an air vent, but would she even be smart enough to do that? I don't know. Whatever. Okay, final thoughts on that episode are, at least there was some action again. Actually, I really liked that whole ending bit. Apart from the stupid stuff I've already mentioned Ellie did, like, you know, easily getting past the guard and then being outwitted by Nora. Like, I was at least happy to see she was up against a smart enemy for once. I do sort of wonder why Nora ran to an area where she would know is like, that's the end. Like, that is a dead end if you go that way. You would assume she's been in this hospital for a while. I would assume she's been in this hospital for a while and would kind of know her way around. Like, if I was Nora, I would have run to where I know there's more guards, not into whatever. They weren't thinking, that's fine. I think I've already complained enough about the stuff that really bugged me in this episode. I need to take a quick break and then I'll watch and film my review to the next episode. So that's it. Please like, subscribe, and comment, even if it's just with an emoji. That's a good way to support this channel and get the video to be better in the, whatever, you get the idea. Or if you're feeling really generous, check out my Patreon, Ko-fi, or hit the money heart thanks button down below. You can become a subscriber or leave me a one-time tip, which would be super mucho appreciated. And I guess that's it. Be good to yourself.